What's up, guys? Welcome back to another All Things Noah upload here. In this video today, I'm going to be talking about and doing my honest review on a movie review of what I got to go see at the movie theaters. Is How You Train Your Dragon, the live action version compared to the animation version. So I'm going to give you guys my opinions on both the animation and also the live action, since I've actually have seen both and I actually watched over the animation version and then I actually watched the live action one in the theaters. So my honest opinion on it in the beginning, but I'm actually going to talk to you guys about the story. So the story basically is about Hiccup, who is a Viking, which is the son of Stoic the Vast. Stoic is his father, basically, and he is the ruler of Berk. He is the chief of Berk, and what his goal is to kill all the dragons, remove them entirely from his village, and they'll go somewhere else. But his goal is to basically defeat the big monster, which is the alpha called the Red Dragon, which is the alpha that leads the dragons of all to their nesting place, which you guys will see mostly at the end of the movies. But that's basically how the story actually begins. That's how it goes. And but at the beginning, you're in the scene where Hiccup is the narrator of the story, where he is introducing what his village is all about and what the story is and what's his main background and what he does, and telling his little story. And he's trying to be the first to actually shoot down a night fairy, which we do get into that part in the next scene. But I feel like the live action gave us a little bit more depth into Berk, because I feel like in the animation one, it's kind of a little rushed a little bit. We were really into the battle, but in the live action, it's more slow pace, where you're getting into more depth into the story and to like understand why. And then it gets into more a little bit with his mother a little bit more, because they hinted a little bit of his mother being actually taken away from a dragon, which you guys will see in the second animation film, which they are working on a second live action of How You Train Your Dragon 2 live action, which is supposed to release June 11, 2027. So we have almost 2 years until the next release for this film. And apparently the actor who plays the mother actually confirmed she wants to actually take that role in the live action. So I'm kind of curious of how they'll take the animation her and actually put her actually in a live action where Hiccup is trying to investigate the hidden world, basically. So I'm pretty curious about that and see how that actually goes in the second one, and see if it's any much different compared to the animation one versus the live action one. So we'll see how much of a difference it is. But back to the first one. So when Hiccup actually shoots down his little trapper thing just to trap the dragon, which is the night fairy, which we all know is Toothless. So after he shoots him down, and it really did like really the most about the How You Train Your Dragon live action is that they actually did a really good job on making the dragons look more realistic and more real. I really do like how they make the different type of dragons more like they're real in real life. Like they look like they're like an actual pet, like your actual pet, like in real life, like your dog, the cat, and all that kind of stuff. I like how they make it more like a real experience of dragons and how more reliable they were back then. But yes, after Hiccup shoots his contraption to capture the Night Fury, which he does knock down, he gets chased by the monstrous nightmare, which you normally would see in the animation one. So I'm glad they did a little bit of that a little bit better. But the one thing I that really caught me off guard is that when the stick, basically that Hiccup was hiding from the monstrous nightmare, as soon as it comes down, it actually destroys the house compared to the it actually going actually down and basically taking the net and everything. They did show that part a little bit too, but the netter actually got away with the sheep, which kind of makes a lot of more sense. So I did like that a little bit too, that they did make it a little bit more deft than just copy mostly the same exact thing from the animation. They did a little bit of that from the animation, a little bit, but I'm glad they took a really big different approach of explaining the story in more depth in that. But yeah, after Hiccup actually confronts his father, Stoke the Vast, he explains everything, why he did it, and he apologized and all that kind of stuff, and then Gobber, which is his other person that he's really good friends with, takes him back to his house, explains the whole story, why he wants to become the better Viking, to be like his father, to prove himself that he is a Viking, that he proves to be that in the first dragon training. So after that, Hiccup actually goes investigates to see if he did actually shoot down the Night Fairy. Well, he actually did. So as soon as he makes his little adventure over to uh, confront, which we know as Toothless, which he does go and confront him. I did notice that they did graphic wise change his color of his eyes, because in the animation one, his color is mostly like a lime green, like yellowish kind of color. So in this one, they made him more darker, where he's like more green and more fearsome and looks a little bit more different compared to where he was in the animation one. But yeah, I did like a little bit of that change, that they gave him a more of a better upgrade compared to the animation one. But they made him a little bit more darker than, because in the animation one he's like more lighter, like a little lighter black color. But in the live action one he's more darker compared to the animation one. So that is still a pretty good win for that. I did really like that when I watched that as well. And then the part where Stoke the Vast is trying to lure the other Vikings to go do this mission to try to go hunt down the Red Dragon, which I did explain in the beginning of the video, that he's trying to go and basically hunt down the Red Dragon, which is basically the Alpha, which Alstrad does point out about the Alpha, which we didn't get to know about the Alpha in the second film in How You Train Your Dragon 2, the animation one. But I'm glad they did go into depth with that for that scene where she was actually explained to Hiccup that it is their queen and that's their Alpha. That's the ruler of all the dragons, that they think it is an Alpha, but maybe it is. Maybe it is an Alpha. So it definitely does make a whole lot of sense to that they did go into it a little early to like hint for that second film, because the second film mostly covers the Alphas, which are the wildebeests that you guys see in the second film of the animation. So, which they are working on a live action How You Train Your Dragon 2, which I'm really excited to see that. So, which will be out in June 11th in 2027. So we got 2 years until we see another live action How You Train Your Dragon 2. Also, after that, they were also discussing about his mother, which they didn't really talk about that in the first animation, How You Train Your Dragon. The only thing they only got to see in the animation one is that when Stoic the Vast gives Hiccup a Viking helmet, which actually did belong to Valka, which is Hiccup's mother, Lost Mother, which you guys will be able to see in the second film. So, yeah, I'm glad they did talk a little bit of death about that with Gobber and Soak the Vast after the big meeting and everything, just to do the watch over Hiccup kind of thing, and basically talk about his his mother, which I did really like that. I think they did do a really good job with just hinting that story and everything, and that's the really the hope for the second one, that I hope they do the same exact thing when they can go into more depth into Vaka's story, to Soak the Vast, and maybe Drago Bloodfist. I would love to see if they can go into more depth with Drago Bloodfist being this dragon killer type person, that he wanted to rule and conquer the world, basically using these dragons, and why he hated dragons so much that he wanted to use dragons basically to build his army, which you guys seen in the second animation film with his wildebeest, and why he wants to attack these places and basically wipe out the whole dragon population. So, and to take over Berk. So that kind of makes me wonder why, and how to make that story more different in this live action compared to that. So yeah, after Hiccup actually goes and actually discovers his shot down dragon, it really made it really cool, where I did like the scene where he was trying to get his tail, because he lost his tail when Hiccup actually shot him down in the beginning of the film. But yeah, I did like a little bit of that part as well, where he was trying to look at Toothless, where he lost his tail, so he was redesigning the tail in his notebook that you guys normally see in the animation one, where the part where he actually drops it into the water, which I like that. I'm glad they did bring that little bit of that flashback. And then one of the flashbacks I really like the most is when Hiccup and him confront each other, and basically Hiccup gives him the fish, and he feeds him the fish, and he really liked it. He was like smiling and everything, being that cuddly type of dragon. Then he spits it mostly out, and then Hiccup actually eats the rest of it, which is kind of funny but kind of gross in a little way. But it was kind of hilarious. I really liked that scene. That was kind of one of my favorite scenes in the live action, that they brought a little bit of that flashback. Also, another thing I really liked about the live action is that they did go into a little bit more depth with the dragon, the red dragon scene a little more, just before they took Toothless and everything, before they revealed about his little secrets that he's been hiding behind the scenes, you know. But I did like where they go into depth a little more, where they just put the dragons there instead of the Viking ships in the animation one, where they just have the dragons sitting there, which they are not engaged, which I did like that a little bit in the live action, where they did a little comparison to that. So I did like that a little bit more. And then the end part was actually really good. I like how they did a really good job with the red dragon. It does look really good compared to the animation one. And it's got a little bit more of its depth there. And then when Hiccup lost his leg, I did expect that mostly to be added into the scenes, so I did like that as well. I feel like the dragon battles were really good in this one. I feel like they were a little bit better than the animation one. But the animation one does beat a little bit of the live action a little bit, with some of the scenes that the live action didn't really cover. Mostly the scene where Hiccup tries to take Toothless in with him mostly, and try to help him put more of the pieces together to build his saddle and everything. So that's a little bit of a mishap with that as well. But I'm glad they actually took it in a different direction where it's not the same exact movie in a live action, but they did it a little bit differently. The one of the scenes in the one where the Vikings actually come back from their little trip to the Red Dragon Cave, they actually showed a little bit of Snotlout's father, which mostly he doesn't get shown most of the time in the movie, most of the time in the animation one, but in this one they really do bring him to life, where Snotlout actually talks to his father a little bit more, where Snotlout's actually doing the rest of carrying the things without Gobber doing it, which is pretty interesting. They did show Gobber a little bit in that scene, but I did like that they actually did a little bit different of just adding Snotlout of doing the job. So I did really like that, but they really did that as well. It made it a little bit more different and more depth to it. But yeah, I think this movie was definitely really good. I definitely say it did surprise me. I feel like this movie was going to be not as great as I thought it would be, but it was definitely going to be a great one, and I think they did a really good job, and I can't wait for How You Train Your Dragon 2 live action, so I'm really excited for that, and see if they can go into more depth into the both Vaca and Drago Bloodfist's like story and how they became who they became today. So let me know down below what your guys' thoughts on the How You Train Your Dragon live action, if you guys have seen it. If you guys have seen it, I definitely am sorry for spoiling it to you, but if you guys don't want to watch the video and haven't seen all the How You Train Your Dragon films, definitely not your video for you. But if you guys did see it, let me know down below, down in the comments, of what your guys' thoughts on the How You Train Your Dragon live action. And are you guys actually excited for a How You Train Your Dragon 2 live action? Let me know. And I will cover basically that one soon in future videos, probably in 2027 or something like that, when I go see that one as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is All Things Noah here, and I will see you guys in the next upload.